you think of sustainability, your mind likely goes to issues like global warming, dirty oceans, or the importance of recycling. For the past decade or so, the US has really put a lot of effort into highlighting why living sustainably is something that we should all be concerned about. By definition, sustainability is the ability of something to be maintained at a certain rate or level. This, of course, can apply to many other things outside of going green. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the sustainability of the US military and how a recent change in policy may significantly weaken the ranks today and for generations to come. As we all know, gender equality is a hot issue in society right now. Women are fighting harder than ever for equality both in and out of the workplace. Recently, this fight was brought to the US military, with many arguing that women deserve the same rights to serve in combat roles as their male counterparts. Until recently, certain jobs and positions were off limits to women, and this made people very upset. I believe that women do have a place in the military, but it's not in combat. The mentality is that women can do anything that men can do, and don't you dare disagree. But what the modern day feminist movement doesn't understand is that the US has maintained the strongest military fighting force in the world for hundreds of years, and it should not be used as a social experiment. The acceptance of women into the combat ranks is not sustainable due to the profound physical and psychological difference between men and women. To ignore these differences for the sake of equality would be to the detriment of our country's military strength. I served in the Army for 5 years. I was a medic, which is typically considered a combat role for obvious reasons. However, because I was a female, I was not assigned to an infantry unit or any type of unit whose main mission was to venture outside of the forward operating base to conduct missions. I worked at the Combat Support Hospital with a handful of other medical personnel, and I feel qualified to speak on this matter as a veteran and a woman. It's important to consider the physical and emotional differences between men and women, as well as the effect that women's presence may have on unit cohesion. I'm here to explain why it is a terrible idea to inject the wokeness of today's society into our nation's fighting forces. A study released in October 2017 by Penn State University found that physiological differences put women at a stark disadvantage in strength-based and aerobic fitness tests. On average, men have 40% more body mass than women, allowing them to readily adapt to the physical exertion that combat missions require. Researchers found that even women who are able to overcome the physical disadvantages and meet the same fitness testing standards as male soldiers were 73% more likely to become injured or fatigued than their male counterparts when performing the same tasks for an extended period of time. This makes even the physically exceptional women easier targets for the enemy and potential burdens to their unit. Combat can mean close, hand-to-hand fighting. If you want to argue equality, think of it this way. Women simply do not have an equal opportunity to survive when fighting for their life against the enemy who is almost certainly a man. Or consider this. Let's say a female soldier accepts a spot in a combat unit during deployment, and 3 hours into their 12-hour convoy, she needs to use the restroom. Is the convoy supposed to stop in the middle of a war zone so that she can get out and pee on the side of the road, putting everyone in danger? Restroom breaks on convoys aren't an issue for men so long as they have a few empty water bottles on hand. But because women's bodies are built differently, there's no easy solution to this unavoidable problem. In addition to undeniable physical differences, emotions come into play as well, and not just for the women. Studies conducted by a research team at the Department of Defense showed that male soldiers are 5 times as likely to risk their life or the mission to aid an injured female squad mate. While this might sound noble, the military is mission-focused, and distractions like this may put the entire unit at greater risk in an already dangerous combat situation. Another important aspect to consider is what the addition of females into a unit may do to morale and cohesion. Men behave differently when women are around, and vice versa. What if a 250-pound combat infantryman isn't confident that the 100-pound female medic can lift him and carry him off the battlefield should he become injured? Is a combat mission really a place where we want to have a morale breakdown? And finally, I have to mention it, fraternization. It's unrealistic to expect men and women to be in close contact with one another during an entire year away from home and not find their way into relationship or sexual drama, or worse, sexual assault. These things have the potential to take focus and vital manpower away from the mission, and that is just not acceptable. The point is, men succeed in the thick of combat, and women do amazing things outside of it. Sure, there are those select handful of exceptional women who can make it through the Special Forces training course and would probably hold their own in a combat role without incident. But I believe that the few and far between shouldn't be the basis for institutional overhaul. Those in favor of women in combat roles say that female soldiers should have the exact same opportunity for promotion as their male peers. To this, I would say, change the standards for promotion. It's a simple fix that would allow women to make their way up the chain of command and experience a successful, honorable military career while still staying outside of combat. The requirements of combat aren't going to bend to meet women's needs, and neither should the military. I spoke with you today about the unpopular opinion that when it comes to the military, there isn't always room for equality. The physical and emotional differences between men and women is evidence enough to show that while there is certainly a place for women in the military, it is not in a combat role. The old adage, don't fix what isn't broken, stands true here. Opening combat roles to women opens the door to a host of problems that will compromise the sustainability of what is globally known as the strongest fighting force in the world. We are blessed to live in a nation so powerful and protected that our wars never have to happen on our soil. We have the strength of the military to thank for that. Let's not risk it all for the sole sake of equality. I hope you have gained a new perspective on sustainability by listening to my presentation.